Hey, we're gonna go live in a few minutes on WJSU. What's the name of this radio show?
The Full Spectrum.
The Full Spectrum. The Full Spectrum is about to go live in a few minutes, and I'm starting to do these live segments because people got to see. We got 20 seconds before we go live on the radio.
I'm gonna grill him.
Okay. Now, can I ask questions back?
No.
I
Can I come to your city council meeting and take over?
We got public comments in city council meeting. You welcome to
Okay,
sign.
well, I'm gonna give you 50 seconds of public public comment at the end of the segment. 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Oh, yeah. Now, why did your disclaimer say that Jackson State doesn't own these words I'm about to say?
They know I'm hosting.
Yeah. We're going to have a great show. We're going to talk about Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, water, airports, all of it.
Oh, they're not gonna be. Oh, they'll be able to hear us.
Mm-hmm.
On today's show, we hear from Jackson City Councilman Dekeither Stamps about the continuing problems with the city's water and other issues. And are those gas prices as good as they seem? Our money man Jim Griffith joins us to talk about the pros and the cons of the bargain basement gas prices. Welcome to the Full Spectrum for March 3rd, 2016. I'm your host, DWAIN. Time now to check out the forecast from Weather Vision's Edward St. Pay.
Oh, yeah. You see it? It's on there live now.
I hooked up, I saw.
Okay.
So all my friends are saying it too.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's some crazy music they got going. They got TLC going in my ear.
The Jackson City Council met Tuesday to once again consider imposing a state of emergency because of high levels of lead in the water in some homes in the city. Joining us now with the latest is Councilman Dekeither Stamps. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Great to have you. So tell me about the meeting on Tuesday.
Well, for the last few weeks, I've been proposing an emergency declaration to do a few things, specifically to expand testing. The testing normally costs about $20 per household to conduct. And in order to give the folks the full comfort I feel they need, we need to test all the houses.
Right.
So that'll cost roughly $1.5 million.
What do you know so far? Because this is a national story now. People wondering, is it isolated to certain neighborhoods, or do you not know the extent of the problem?
Well, until you do the proper testing, you don't know the extent. But I do know that 90% of the homes that were tested positive to some degree of lead, and only 13 of those homes tested above the actual levels. Me personally, I would like to see no level of lead in any water, but and I just won't know that until we do testing across the whole city.
Okay, I want to play something the mayor said. This was not the last council meeting, but when you first asked for the state of emergency, and there was a little dust up there. So let's hear what the mayor had to say. about why he didn't impose a state of emergency.
Mm-hmm. Right. So the mayor said in that meeting, so if I can get a grasp of it, he said that he didn't want to create a state of panic.
Right.
By declaring a state of emergency. Well, what I'm saying is, and what I said a month ago, is if you declare the state of emergency, similar to when tornadoes come. Last week, the governor declared a state of emergency before the storm even hit. And then it came back and didn't even cause that much damage, right?
Right.
You're able to contain the messaging, and you're able to decipher through the information, you're able to go through it and control what's happening. Now, you come back a few weeks later, because of our inaction, we can't control the messaging anymore. It's other sources and other people controlling the messaging. So from a leadership perspective, I felt that it would be incumbent on us to declare a state of emergency first, then garner resources, because we know the city doesn't have the resources to spend money testing houses for lead. I don't want to have to fire police officers just to turn around and buy testing kits. I want FEMA and the federal government and the state government to come in and help with these costs, and also to help with the solutions for some of these folks' houses.
In my mind, this is clearly different, but he says when he, months ago tried to get a state of emergency dealing with infrastructure issues, you were opposed to that.
Correct.
And clearly in my mind it's different, but respond to why it's different.
Well, it's different because when you just say infrastructure, that's broad. Right? I know the names, addresses, and telephone numbers of people who have tested positive for lead. That's specific. And in this issue, we have a specific problem, but also it's a public health component attached to it that I felt rated the severity of an emergency declaration. There's a true endpoint to this as well. Assessing the scope of the problem throughout the city, and in turn helping to fix those problems. And when you fix it, it's over. But see, with infrastructure is ongoing. So if you declare a state of emergency for infrastructure, and at what point is the state of emergency over?
What happens if it turns out that the source of the water, like if it ends at the meter or whatever, and it goes into the house? Suppose the water isn't coming out of the city system with lead, and it really is in some of these homes where we know people cannot afford to get the piping changed.
Right.
Do you feel like the city could still face some liability, or?
Well, when it gets to a point where people have been identified with having lead in their homes, and it's not the city's fault, now what happens? I'm not going to sit there and let those people be unhealthy, or in some cases let them die. We need the federal government to come in and help with those problems, because the city is not responsible for repiping folks' houses or buying water filters for folks' houses and things like that. And that's what the emergency declaration was about. It was just about testing, but also, what do you do once it's test positive? What assistance is in place?
Right. It's a little scary. I've asked a couple of people this lately about, is government able anymore to meet its responsibility to citizens? Because if you add just Jackson and Flint, Michigan together, you're talking billions of dollars in infrastructure repairs that are needed, and that's only two cities.
Well, and this is what happens when you have, in our history of America, anytime you have protracted wars, right? It's a drain on the reinvestment of the homeland, and this happens every time we go to war. But now we're in this perpetual war situation. We've spent $6 trillion on wars. That money would normally be spent on the homeland, right? And this is what happens. Your country will crumble if you stay in a constant war. That's why these global wars must end.
Well, speaking of budget issues, what is it looking like? Because as you know, the water, and for years, the repaving the streets has been an issue. And the mayor said when he was on a couple of days ago that the repaving is set to start this month Is that your understanding as well?
Well, we've given the administration everything they've asked for, and I've given them a clear mandate. 2016 must be your year to perform for the citizens of Jackson. The city council, you've asked for several things, and the overwhelming majority of what you've asked for, you've got. So now the people in the city council want you to perform. Want your people to perform. We want you to be successful, quite frankly, because their success is tied to our success. And we've done our part, so now it's up to the administration to bring home the bacon.
What has taken so long? You're saying, that's one of the questions I asked the mayor. What is, especially the entertainment district, and it's been years, Ferris Street, the whole downtown area that they've been talking, and it seems like very little has happened.
Well, on our side, the city council declared several parcels, entertainment district, opened those things up to the incentives that take place in those things. We've passed more legislation in the last year and a half to create a fertile ground for entertainment and industry, and so now we just need other levels of government to step up to the plate and stop incentivizing other businesses to leave the city and stay out of the city, but also to help us grow.
That'll be a good place to pick up. We're talking with Jackson City Councilman Dekeither Stamps. We'll be right back after this break.
Y'all not hot making me, are you? Okay, good.
Well, you can hear yourself in here.
You never know, y'all. You never know. But it's a big issue, brother. It's a big issue, and the solution is not a quick fix. It's going to take 12 to 16 years just to get us to a point where we need to be in the city of Jackson. So when you do things with a microwave mindset, you waste a whole lot of money, and that's just not where we are. To waste any resource, just to say we've done something.
People may not understand that, but
you just have to truly govern.
Take a while.
And really, good government is slow.
30 seconds.
And my goal now is just to focus on providing good government. You got a great team back there. They own it.
Are you sure you want to do right?
Oh, I'm positive.
Okay, we got 8 seconds. Here we go.
Now this intro music, I'm going to get some of this intro music.
We're back with Jackson City Councilman Dekeither Stamps. You are doing a fabulous job, Meredith.
Fabulous, Meredith.
Fabulous. Okay. We are talking, you talked about businesses moving out. That brings up some of the stuff that's been going on over at the legislature. Josh Harkin's bill with the airport. I'm going to do a show on that next week. Your reaction, DPS, the Department of Public Safety headquarters moving out. It seems like Rankin County is trying to suck the life out of Jackson.
Well, we've got to push back against that. It's time for us to have a true Jackson First campaign and not apologize for doing things in our own best interest. For a long time, other levels of government have been incentivizing businesses to leave Jackson or to grow somewhere else, like the $27 million the state gave to the outlet mall to build there. Well, what if that investment was made in the Metro Center, right? $30 million to Costco and money to Sam's Club and Best Buy and all these different types of entities. But not to mention those businesses, even the state agency, the tax revenue places in Clinton, the birth certificate places over in Richland, and several other places. But what we have to do is not just look at what other agencies or entities are doing against our interests. What are we doing for our interests?
What are you doing for your interests?
Well, one of the biggest things is I proposed that we annex all the property that we own that are outside of the city limits of Jackson in Rankin County.
How much is the airport and what else?
Well, the airport's already inside the city limits, but there's areas along Lakeland Drive that are ripe for development that the city of Jackson owns that property, but it's not inside the city limits of Jackson. Like where that movie theater is and that Slip Inn is right there by the airport on Lakeland Drive.
Right.
Well, that's the city of Jackson owns that property. They lease it from the city of Jackson, but it's not inside our corporate limits.
So what are the options? What can you do?
We annex it.
And what is the response of your fellow councilmen?
Well, Councilman Ashley Foots agrees with it, and several others agree with it. It's just a long time ago we agreed to not annex property in Rankin County. And we
It's a
stood
new
by
game,
it.
right?
Well, they changed the rules of the game. They started this war, but we're going to ensure that Jackson finishes this war and comes out ahead.
You know, I talked to Josh Harkins, who wrote that bill, and he says there's no, he says there's no race component to this. It's about, you know, you don't believe that either.
No.
Benny Thompson thinks it is.
Well,
But you think.
Put it this way. Race may play a role, but the real role is money power. This is a money power conversation. And as long as we keep it at the money power conversation, we don't get bogged down in all of the history that comes with the race conversation. And we can talk professionally. This is evident. We approached the Mississippi Aviation Association to join us in opposition of this bill. And they did, mainly because we kept the facts and issues up front, left the race conversation in the car, and said, okay, what will happen to the Mississippi Aviation Association if this bill goes through?
Okay.
And we listed the negative effects thereof, possible state takeover of other airports around the state, losing licenses from the FAA and those types of things. And we were able to garner support that we wouldn't have been able to get if we'd have kept it a race conversation.
Looks like that one's going to head for the courts. It seems it'll make it out of the legislature, but into the courts. I want to get. I know you want to talk about the presidential election before we leave. So, what do you think? A wild season.
Well, on the presidential race, America is going to have to decide if it's going to birth this baby. Is America going to commit an abortion? A long time ago, hate and racism seeds were conceived inside America, and it's ramped up when Obama became president.
Right.
And they fueled this thing, and now they birthed a Trump and the Trump movement that's filled with hate and racism. So now, will America birth this baby, or will America put it to bed?
I don't know if I buy that analogy because the baby's here. I mean, it was in an orphanage somewhere, and when Obama made it to the presidency, we recognized, look, there's a baby here, like, you know. We denied it for so long. I mean, when you think about it, this was the whole level playing field argument. A lot of people didn't think there was a problem anymore, and now you see the extent of some racist sentiments in the country.
That's true. And, you know, what will America do? I mean,
what do you think they'll do? I mean, do you think, first of all, that Trump will win the Republican nomination?
Well, I believe he'll probably get more votes than anyone else. Will they tear the Republican Party apart? Probably so.
Well, it's already started. You see people coming out saying they won't. I mean, it's pretty big name Republicans saying they will not back him.
Right. So they're imploding, but it's all because this is what hate and racism does to you. It feeds off itself. When you hate it, it hates harder. You see, it feeds off itself. So you have to make a decision.
All right, let's talk Hillary and Bernie.
Hillary and Bernie. Now, a lot of people,
are you feeling the burn?
Well, put it this way. A lot of people ask me, you know, why haven't you endorsed someone for president and all that kind of stuff. Me personally, I haven't seen the appropriate ask. What I've been asking is for several specific things for the black community. I don't believe we should ever vote for anybody unless we know what we're going to get in return. What is the return on investment? A lot of people have floated around the idea of having Mr. Castro be the vice president. I said, well, if you're going to depend on black folks to get you across the finish line.
And she definitely did.
Right. And you're going to need that support all the way to the finish line. And you can't win without black folks. Well, why aren't you opening up doors and continuing the Obama legacy in a visual form by appointing a black vice president?
What do we know? We don't know yet that she won't. But you're feeling that she probably won't?
Well, I want to see the commitment. Well, if she commits to that, or Bernie commits to that, and several other specific things that keep us in the conversation, because if we are allowed to let the same thing happen that happened after the Civil Rights Movement, where black folks got everybody the right to vote, and then we were leapfrog. Gay rights went ahead of us. Immigrant rights, even animal rights were put ahead of black rights after the Civil Rights Movement. Now, you know, we can't allow that to happen again.
Well,
when we toted all the water to make this stuff happen in the first place.
You know, we have a little high-tech thing going here. We were live streaming on Facebook, so I want to thank you for bringing in the high-tech atmosphere here in the studio.
Wait,
We still have a minute left.
You're not going to respond to that? Well, that makes sense, right?
The what?
Look at the civil rights movement, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I
other
agree.
interests jump forward.
I agree. And then there's the reality that we are no longer the biggest minority. So there are some real strategic decisions that are going to have to be made over the next couple of years. I agree with you totally. I just wonder,
But as far
how
as
we're
voters
going
are
to navigate
concerned,
that.
we may not be, but as far as voting population, we are the #1 minority voting population.
Right.
So when it comes to voting, there's no other group that votes more than black folks.
It'll be interesting. You have me more intrigued than ever to see who her VP pick is.
Right. So
if she gets the nomination.
Yeah, does she respect the black vote? Or does Bernie Sanders respect the black vote? We'll see.
Keep the stamps. Keep up the good work. You got to come back now.
Hey, anytime, just let me know.
All right.
Hey, tell my friends on Facebook. Goodbye.
Huh? Goodbye. Goodbye to Dekeither Stamps friends on Facebook. And come be my friend. DWAIN DOTY, Facebook. All right now, we'll be back with Money Man Jim Griffith.
Okay. See? They're going to decide, but we'll know the true colors. Who's really for us and who's really
Let's
against
see
us.
how many people won. Oh, I had a few viewers.
Yep. All right, y'all. See y'all next time.